Hello everyone, this is my third video on the digestive system. If you missed the first couple videos, be sure to check those out. I will link them in the description or the comments as long as I remember. This video is going to just continue on the last one where I was sharing different tips. This is just things that I have found in my research and experience. I am not a doctor, so this is not medical advice, just things that I have found to be helpful. The first one is very simple. And if you've ever gone out to a restaurant, you might be very aware that portion size is very important. And a lot of times when you go out to eat, portion sizes are way off and they are like double and triple what you should have, just because that's the nature of going out to eat sometimes. So cut down on your portions, try to eat smaller amounts of food, and even if you can spread it throughout the day is beneficial. So instead of eating 3 huge meals, maybe 5 smaller meals throughout the day, if you have the flexibility to do that. Your digestive system does work better with small amounts of food. If you think about like Thanksgiving and other times where you eat a ton of food, how you feel at the end after you've consumed all of that, it's just kind of like, ooh, I probably shouldn't have had all that, but it was so delicious, so I ate all of it. So smaller amounts of food are better. Snacks in between meals help you to not eat so much at mealtime. So if you're a person that normally overeats at meals, you might try snacking in between. You just have to keep your snacking under control. You don't want to snack all day long. You have to give your mouth a break and your digestive system a break. But if it's going to prevent you from overeating at a meal, then yes, slip a snack in between your meals throughout the day. If you have never heard of gut health, I would encourage you to look it up, check it out. I have resources on gut health. If you want to drop gut health in the comments, I can send them your way. They are so important for our stomach and just our overall wellness. Science is continuing to make discoveries linking our gut to our brain and our immune system, which is super fascinating, but I will save that for another video. Make sure you're having probiotics in your diet. That's the good bacteria. You want to make sure that you are always increasing the good bacteria in your system. And then I'm just going to list a few foods to avoid. There's lots of things that you can avoid, but these are like the main ones. You want to make sure that you are avoiding margarine or shortening because of the process that they use to make them. It's awful. They heat it up, they kill the good stuff, then they add emulsifiers in to kind of pretty it up. It's horrific. So do not use margarine or shortening. We prefer butter from grass-fed beef. Another thing to avoid is hydrogenated fats. They cause they've been linked to lots of diseases. You also want to avoid low fat. Low fat diets actually make your body crave sugar and actually make your body want to make sugar and store it. So avoid low fat diets. Fat is not a bad thing as long as it's a certain kind of fat. Do not eat an entire carton of ice cream to get your fats. You want good fats like dark chocolate and avocado and nuts. Those fats are actually good for your body. Your body needs fat. And when you cut fat out of your diet, your body doesn't really respond in a very positive way. If you actually look at studies where they started saying fat was bad and they started using oils instead of natural fats, there's actually a pretty consistent like parallel between that and the obesity rates in America. It's pretty interesting. And I learned a lot of that from Sally Fallon, who loves to share about eating natural food and going back to your roots. And I would encourage you to check her out if you've never heard of her. She has a book called Nourishing Traditions, which is really good. And I actually went to a conference that she had where she talked about all of this, and it was just fascinating as I was learning more and more about digestion and food and nutrition and the food company and food industry. So it's very interesting when you start to look at how the food industry has changed and the impact on the general population. You also want to make sure you avoid sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and MSGs. Those 3 were probably the top 3 that we cut out when we started kind of doing an overhaul in our pantry. Those were the things that we looked for. Unfortunately, you can't just look for the word sugar or high fructose corn syrup or MSG on your labels. for the ingredient list, the food company, the food industry has gotten a little sneaky, and they are using tons of different names for these things. So if you don't know what it is on the ingredient label and you can't identify it, it's best to avoid that product if you're able to. So sugar has tons of different names. If anything ends in OSE, that means it's a sugar, but there are lots of other sneaky words that they slip in the ingredient list for sugar, and usually it's multiple different forms of sugar in the same product. So you're getting like 4 different kinds of sugar, because sugar is very addicting to the body, and companies know that. So if you have lots of sugar, you'll eat lots of food, and you want to keep eating it, and then they'll keep making money. So make sure you're avoiding those ingredients if at all possible in your stuff. And it's easier, honestly, it's just easier to make as much food as you can yourself. Get the ingredients and throw it together yourself. You can do recipes where you multiply, and then you have 3 different meals. You can cook a huge batch and eat on it for 3 days if your family's into leftovers. You can do different freezer meals where you just double your recipe and put one in the freezer, so it's about the same amount of work for 2 meals. There's lots of tips and tricks, but I would definitely encourage you to check out just eating real food, like I said in my other video, and trying to cut out all of these extra things that are in the ingredient list, unfortunately. I hope that was helpful, and I hope you got some value.